This story, born from personal tragedy, reflects the harsh truths of greed, prejudice, and human worth. It begins with a bitter ultimatum. A woman is forced by her own mother-in-law to divorce, simply so her son can marry a wealthy heiress and elevate their status. Faced with insults, degradation, and selfish greed, the woman does not crumble. Instead, she calmly signs the divorce papers without hesitation and walks away with quiet dignity. Despite being scorned, she maintains her composure and wisdom. Every time she confronts her former mother-in-law or ex-husband, she responds not with tears or pleas, but with logic, evidence, and the strength of someone who knows her true value. Her proud silence becomes the most potent weapon, gradually exposing the pettiness and cowardice of those who once looked down on her. The climax arrives on her ex-husband's wedding day. Amidst joyful faces, when everyone believes she is merely an outsider of a lower class, the surprising truth is revealed. She is not the insignificant person they imagined, but a figure of such stature that even a powerful tycoon must bow his head in respect. That moment is a slap in the face to the arrogance and greed of her ex-husband's family, and a brilliant testament to the truth. A person's worth is never determined by contemptuous glances or material gain. This story is a profound lesson that in any circumstance, a woman must hold on to her pride and independence. For when she knows how to stand on her own 2 feet, she can make the world see her in a different light. On a weekend morning, with a light drizzle misting the windows, I was curled up on the sofa reading a magazine when the door was thrown open with a slam that made me jump. I looked up to see my mother-in-law, Helena, carrying a bright red bag, followed by a flamboyantly dressed young woman. Only later did I learn this was Isabella, the beloved daughter of the Rossi family conglomerate. Helena tossed the bag onto the sofa and, without waiting for me to speak, pulled 2 documents from it and slapped them on the coffee table. The sound was sharp enough to startle the cat downstairs. With her hands on her hips, she glared at me. "Anya, this is the divorce agreement. Sign it. My son Marcus is marrying Isabella. You two are from different worlds. Don't stand in the way of his future." I picked up the papers. They stated a mutual, no-fault divorce with no shared assets. In truth, I had all my personal assets legally protected before the marriage. In 2 years as Marcus's wife, I had never spent a cent of his money, nor had I let him touch my real wealth. To me, this document was worthless. Isabella stood beside her, arms crossed, chin high like a proud peacock. "She's right," she said with a smirk. "Marcus and I are truly in love. The connections my family has can save Marcus 20 years of struggle. You can't give him that." I didn't argue. I took a pen from the drawer, my hand perfectly steady, and signed my name with 2 quick strokes. Placing the pen down, I pushed the papers back toward Helena. "It's done. From now on, please don't involve me in your family matters." Helena was stunned, clearly not expecting me to be so decisive. She had probably imagined I would cry and beg. Isabella's smile faltered for a moment before she recovered. "Well, at least you know your place." I stood up and picked up the small suitcase I had already packed. I had noticed Helena's strange behavior days earlier, constantly talking about sons who had married into wealth, so I had prepared for this. At the door, I glanced back. Helena was examining the signed papers as if afraid I had tricked her. Isabella was on the sofa, texting Marcus with a grin that stretched from ear to ear. I left without another word, closing the door softly behind me. In the hallway, I ran into my neighbor, Mrs. Dubois. "Anya, dear, where are you going?" she asked, holding a bag of groceries. "Marcus and I are divorced," I said with a smile. "I'm moving out." Mrs. Dubois looked shocked, then sighed. "Oh my, I knew something was off. Your mother-in-law has been bragging to everyone that she's found a rich wife for her son." I just waved goodbye and carried my suitcase downstairs. The rain hadn't stopped. I sent a text to my assistant, Leo. "Arrange a temporary residence for me, somewhere far from my old apartment." Less than 5 minutes later, he replied, "All set, ma'am. It's in the serviced apartment building you favor. I've sent a driver to pick you up." I put my phone away and waited by the road, my heart completely calm. A marriage built on money was best ended sooner rather than later. The next morning, just as I finished unpacking, there was a furious pounding on my door. I opened it to find Helena, with a reluctant Marcus trailing behind her. The moment she entered, her eyes scanned the room and locked onto the refrigerator. "Anya, that fridge was bought by my family for the wedding. And the washing machine on the balcony, and the microwave in the kitchen, we paid for all of it. Pack them up so we can take them back." I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "Helena, that's not right. At the wedding, in front of all our relatives, you said those appliances were a wedding gift to me. Now that we're divorced, they suddenly belong to you again?" Just then, my new neighbor, Mr. Chevalier, opened his door. "What's all the commotion?" he asked. Seeing him, Helena immediately changed her tune, grabbing his arm. "Mr. Chevalier, you be the judge. My son just got divorced, and she's trying to keep the appliances my family bought." I retrieved the wedding video from a drawer and put it on. The screen lit up with the wedding reception. Helena was holding a microphone, smiling. "Today, I'm giving my daughter-in-law a full set of home appliances as a gift, hoping they live a happy life together." Mr. Chevalier glanced at the screen, then back at Helena, frowning. "Ma'am, the video is perfectly clear. Besides, Anya has been your daughter-in-law for 2 years. Even if you bought them, you should let her keep them as a small compensation." Other neighbors peeked out, whispering, "Who demands old appliances back after a divorce? How greedy." I heard she pushed for this so her son could marry rich. Now she's back to bully the old one. Helena's face turned red, then white. She tugged at Marcus. "Son, say something. These are ours." Marcus looked at the floor, mumbling, "Mom, it's not worth much." "Not worth much?" Helena snapped. "That fridge, even used, could sell for a few €100. The washing machine, too. It all adds up." I let out a cold laugh, went to the balcony, unplugged the washing machine, and emptied the fridge onto the floor. "Fine. If you want them, take them yourselves. But let me remind you, these are old models. You can move them now, but please don't disturb the neighbors." Helena looked at the pile of old appliances, and then at the disdainful eyes of the neighbors. Her face grew pale. Finally, she gritted her teeth and pulled Marcus away. "Let's go." "We don't want her charity." She stormed off, not even bothering to close the door. Mr. Chevalier shut it for me with a sigh. "Don't be upset, Anya. People like that only care about money." I smiled and nodded. "Thank you, I know." Once he left, I tidied up and texted Leo. "Deal with the old appliances. I don't want them cluttering the place." He replied instantly. "Yes, ma'am. I'll send someone over." I sat on the sofa, sipping warm water, feeling a sense of satisfaction. With greedy people, you cannot show weakness. 5 days after the divorce, I was at my small, unassuming company, pretending to sort through files. It was all a charade. The real documents were encrypted on my personal phone. My phone rang my ex-husband. I stared at the screen for a few seconds before answering. "Are you free?" he asked, his voice artificially gentle. "I'd like to talk. Let's meet at our old cafe." I laughed to myself, guessing it was nothing good, but I figured it was better to settle things once and for all. "Fine. I'll be there in 20 minutes. I arrived at the cafe to find him already seated by the window. He was well-dressed, clearly trying to appear sincere. I sat down without a word. He began, avoiding my eyes. "How have you been? I know the divorce was my fault. My mother forced me. She said if I didn't marry Isabella, she'd disown me." I sipped my water silent, waiting to see how long he could keep up the act. He leaned forward, his voice softer. "The truth is, I still have feelings for you. Marrying Isabella is just a temporary strategy. You know her family is powerful. Once I secure their resources and establish myself, then what?" I finally spoke, my voice devoid of emotion. "You'll divorce her and come back to me?" His eyes lit up. "Exactly. How did you know?" "Anya, just wait for me. A year at most." "I don't need to wait," I interrupted, pulling out my phone, not my personal one, but a regular smartphone I used for my role. I played a recording I had prepared. It was a conversation between him and his mother I'd recorded the day before the divorce. Helena's voice was clear. "Son, you have to be quick. The Rossi family is so rich. Once you marry her, our family will be set." Then came Marcus's excited voice. "I know, Mom. After I divorce Anya, I'll treat Isabella well. Once I get my hands on their resources, like that real estate project, I'll kick her to the curb. A spoiled girl like her is much harder to control than Anya. I stopped the recording. The cafe was quiet, and the couple at the next table stared. Marcus's face flushed a deep red. How? How did you get that? Were you recording me? He stammered, reaching for the phone. I pulled it away. Yes, I was. If I hadn't, I might have actually fallen for your pathetic act. Marcus, do you think I'm a child you can so easily deceive? No, Anya, let me explain. My mother told me to say that. He scrambled to his feet, knocking over his chair. I stood up as well. Don't bother explaining. I'm not interested. You, your mother, and your precious Isabella can live your wealthy lives. Just don't bother me again. He tried to grab my arm, but I shook him off. If you touch me again, I'll call the police. His hand froze in midair. I turned and walked out of the cafe without a second glance. Outside, I texted Leo. It's done. Block his number. He replied immediately. Consider it done, ma'am. I wasn't angry. I was relieved. Any lingering illusions were now completely shattered. This play was only just beginning. Helena, Marcus, Isabella, I would make them pay back every debt they owed me. I was at home sorting through old books when a shrill voice erupted from downstairs. Anya, get out here! I looked out the window. It was my ex-sister-in-law, Clara. She wore a gaudy pink coat and was yelling up at my apartment. You jinx! If it weren't for you, my brother would already be engaged to the tycoon's daughter. Now he has to deal with your nonsense, missing his chance to make it big. I ignored her, but then I heard a crash. She had kicked over 2 potted succulents I'd placed by the door, shattering the pots. I calmly took out my phone and started recording. Evidence was more useful than arguing. Clara stormed upstairs and began pounding on my door. Open up. What's the point of hiding? If you're brave enough to get divorced, why aren't you brave enough to face me? Mrs. Dubois from next door opened her door. Young lady, what are you doing? This is a quiet building. This is none of your business, Clara snapped back. It's between me and my former sister-in-law. Mrs. Dubois' face hardened. How rude. You can't just come here and destroy property. I could call the police. Go ahead, Clara scoffed. If she dares, I'll tell everyone she's bullying our family. Hearing that, I dialed the police. Hello, I said calmly. I'd like to report someone verbally harassing me and intentionally destroying my property at my doorstep. I gave them the address. Clara stopped pounding for a moment, having clearly heard me, then started again, though less forcefully. About 10 minutes later, a police car arrived. I saw Clara try to hide in the stairwell, but Mrs. Dubois pointed her out to the officer. Officer, it was her! She was shouting and breaking things. The police asked for her ID. She fumbled before producing a worn-out card. Did you break these? The officer asked, gesturing to the shattered pots. I knocked them over by accident, she stammered. An accident? I opened the door and showed the officer my phone. Officer, this video shows her intentionally kicking them while shouting insults. It's quite clear. The officer watched the video, his expression serious. Miss, this isn't an accident. It's intentional destruction of property and public harassment. If she presses charges, you could be fined, and even detained. At the word detained, Clara's face went white, and tears streamed down her face. Officer, I'm sorry. I won't do it again. I was just upset. She looked at me, pleading for help. I spoke to the officer. Sir, I just want her to compensate me for the pots and promise to never bother me again. The officer nodded. You heard her. Apologize, pay for the damages, and leave. If we get another call, it won't be this simple. Clara tearfully apologized and pulled a 50-euro note from her purse. The pots were worth more, but I took the money. Don't come back, I said. Next time, I'll press charges. She nodded, grabbed her bag, and fled. After the police left, I cleaned up the mess. My phone buzzed. It was Leo. Ma'am, I heard the commotion. Do you need me to send someone over? No need, I replied. It's a small matter, already resolved. I felt a sense of peace. Clara's outburst only solidified my decision. Dealing with a family like that was a waste of time. It was better to handle them one by one and move on with my new life. On a Saturday morning, my mother-in-law showed up again, this time dressed in a brand new red dress, her hair perfectly styled. She barged in, a gilded envelope in her hand. This little rented flat of yours can't be more than 30 square meters, can it? Nothing compared to my son's future home. If you have something to say, please say it. I have to go out soon, I said, placing a glass of water on the table. She sat down, flashing a gold bracelet on her ankle, and pushed the envelope towards me. Here. My son's wedding is next Saturday. You're invited. I knew she didn't want me there for celebration. She wanted me there as an audience for her gloating. You know, she continued smugly, the reception is at the city's most luxurious hotel. 50 tables, each costing thousands. There will be imported wine. It'll be a real eye-opener for you. You'll see what a real life of luxury looks like. Yes, I said calmly. I will definitely be there. She was taken aback by my quick agreement, then sneered, Don't come empty-handed. I know you don't have money, but your gift can't be too small, or it will embarrass my son. I suppose 100 euros will do. You don't need to worry about the gift, Helena. I know what to do. Seeing she couldn't provoke me, she stood up. And dress nicely. Don't wear those old rags and embarrass my son. I opened the door for her. If there's nothing else, please leave. I have things to do. She huffed and left, slamming the door so hard a picture on the wall shook. I opened the invitation. Inside, a photo showed Marcus in a suit, smiling triumphantly, beside a haughty-looking Isabella. I put it away and texted Leo. Next Saturday, 5 p.m. I'm attending a wedding. Don't let me look bad. Within 2 minutes, he replied. Understood, ma'am. Dress, car, all will be arranged to your satisfaction. He knew I preferred discretion, but he also knew how to make a statement when necessary. My neighbor, Mrs. Dubois, texted me a moment later. I saw your ex-mother-in-law. Is she forcing you to go to the wedding? She was bragging downstairs about how you'd come to witness her son's grand success. How shameless. It's all right, Mrs. Dubois, I replied. I'm just going to watch the show. Helena wanted me to be her prop, to feel jealous. She had no idea whose stage that wedding would ultimately become. A few days later, I was at my job at the small company when the receptionist told me a man in a suit was here to see me. He says he's the house manager for Mr. Rossi. So, Isabella's family was doing a background check. Send him up to the meeting area, I told her. A man in a dark gray suit, with impeccably styled hair, walked in. He scanned the small office with a dismissive air. Are you Miss Anya? He asked, standing over me. I am the Rossi family's house manager. My employer sent me to ask if you are still in contact with Mr. Marcus. His tone was like an interrogation. We are divorced, I said calmly. There is no reason for us to be in contact. That's not all, he said, leaning in. Mr. Marcus is about to marry our young miss. Our employer hopes you will be sensible and not disturb their lives. After all, you and he are from different worlds. They thought I was some poor office worker who might cause trouble out of jealousy. I smiled internally. You can rest assured I have no interest in other people's affairs. It's best if it stays that way, he said doubtfully. If we find you secretly contacting him or causing a scene at the wedding, the consequences will not be something you can bear. Just then, Leo walked in, looking like a regular employee. He saw the house manager and walked over to my desk. Cousin, he said loudly, placing a file down. Here are the documents you asked for. Then he turned to the manager. And who is this? I am the Rossi family's house manager, discussing a private matter with your cousin, the man said stiffly. Leo's demeanor instantly turned cold. A private matter? My cousin is working. And who are you to dictate who she contacts? A house manager, coming here to throw your weight around? The manager, stunned by Leo's audacity, sputtered, Who are you to speak? I'm her cousin, Leo said, stepping in front of me. My cousin is kind and won't argue with you, but I'm different. You mentioned consequences? I'd like to know what consequences the Rossi family can create. Bankrupt this company? Get my cousin fired? If you have that power, please, go ahead and try. The office had gone silent. Everyone was watching. The house manager, utterly humiliated, backtracked. I was just following orders. Following orders? Leo sneered, pulling out the divorce papers. This document clearly states they have no more ties. Your coming here to threaten her suggests you think we are easy to bully. If you really anger us, we will speak directly to Mr. Rossi about how he manages his staff. The threat of involving Mr. Rossi made the manager panic. I was just speaking casually. No threat intended. Since Miss Anya is no longer in contact with Mr. Marcus, I will report back." He turned and scurried out, nearly running into the doorframe, to the amusement of the entire office. Leo looked at his retreating back and called out, "Take care, and next time you want a private conversation, make an appointment." Once things settled down, Leo leaned in and whispered, "I've had someone monitor the Rossi family. If they bother you again, our lawyers will contact them directly. As for the wedding, everything is arranged. They are in for a surprise." I nodded. The more they investigated and threatened, the more they revealed their own insecurity. In just a few days, I would show them what different worlds truly meant. The day before the wedding, Leo brought the attire. A bespoke, deep champagne-colored gown from Italy, elegant and understated. The fabric was a soft silk blend that shimmered subtly under the light. With it came a set of discreet but exquisite pearl jewelry, a family heirloom of my mother's, he explained, and a simple black satin clutch. The car would be a black Maybach with civilian plates, driven by a trusted family chauffeur. The next morning, I dressed. The gown fit perfectly. I tied my hair in a low ponytail and put on the pearl necklace and earrings. As I left my building, the black car was waiting. Leo, already there, opened the door. "Anya, where are you off to?" a voice called. It was Mrs. Dubois looking at me, then at the car, in astonishment. "My dear, you look absolutely stunning today. That dress is so elegant. And this car, is it from a relative?" "I'm attending a friend's wedding," I said with a smile. "The dress is borrowed, and a friend is giving me a ride." Other neighbors gathered around, admiring my outfit and the car. "Your friends are very kind, Anya. You look more beautiful than a movie star." I thanked them and got into the car. As we drove off, I could see them in the rearview mirror, still chattering excitedly. The contrast between their perception of me as a poor office worker and the reality of today must have been quite a shock. In the car, Leo informed me that the wedding hall was already filling up. "I've told the staff that if anyone asks, you are a friend of the groom." "Good," I nodded, leaning back. "Stick to the plan." The car pulled up to the hotel. A red carpet stretched from the entrance, flanked by staff in pink uniforms. The scene was grand, but nothing compared to the galas I had attended with my family. This, however, was clearly the pinnacle of splendor in Helena's eyes. As I stepped onto the red carpet, a shrill voice cut through the air. "Well, well, if it isn't my former daughter-in-law. I can't believe you actually came." It was Helena, draped in a purple dress, a gold pin at her collar. Beside her was Clara, her face caked in makeup. Helena looked me up and down. "You clean up nicely, but that dress, it looks rented, doesn't it?" I ignored her and handed my invitation to the receptionist, who smiled politely. "Ah, Miss Anya, please, come in." Seeing the staff's courtesy towards me, Helena's face soured. She pulled the receptionist aside and whispered, "Don't give her a good seat. Put her in the back corner, near the kitchen. She's not on our level." The receptionist looked uncomfortable. I simply smiled. "The corner is fine. It's quiet." I walked into the opulent hall, shimmering under crystal chandeliers. A massive wedding photo of Marcus and Isabella hung on the main stage. The first few tables were filled with well-dressed guests exchanging business cards. I walked to the designated table in the back, near the kitchen, where only 2 other people were sitting. Leo found a seat nearby, keeping a watchful eye on me. A server brought a menu, but Helena snatched it away. "Don't bring her the expensive dishes. No lobster or abalone. She's used to simple food. Anything too rich will upset her stomach. Just give her a plate of sautéed vegetables and a bowl of rice." The server looked at me for confirmation. I calmly poured myself a cup of tea. "That's fine, just as she says." Helena, annoyed by my lack of reaction, sneered, "Don't feel bad. It's not that I'm being cheap, but you're no longer part of this family. You can't just take advantage of us. Look at the front tables. All friends and family of Mr. Rossi. You can't compare." I ignored her and watched the stage. Eventually, feeling she'd made her point, she walked away. Soon, Marcus and Isabella began making their rounds. As they approached my table, Isabella stopped. "Marcus, who is this? Why is she sitting here?" Marcus looked away awkwardly. "Ah, just an old acquaintance." Isabella sauntered over, deliberately flashing a diamond necklace. An acquaintance? Why aren't you at a main table? I suppose you didn't get a formal invitation. Not everyone is suited for a place like this. I looked up at her and smiled. It's nice here. Quiet. I can watch you greet your guests without being jostled. Her face tightened. Before she could retort, Helena rushed over. Isabella, darling, don't waste your breath on her. Let's go greet the important guests. She shot me a glare. You just sit here quietly and don't embarrass us. I said nothing, just raised my teacup in their direction as they walked away. The music swelled, and the MC welcomed the bride and groom to the stage. Helena stood at the side, wiping away tears. My son has finally made it, she murmured, marrying a tycoon's daughter. We're going to be rich now. I glanced at my watch. Mr. Dubois would arrive in 10 minutes. Then, this glorious wedding would become Helena's nightmare. Just as I took a sip of tea, a hush fell over the entrance. It was Mr. Dubois, the CEO of a tech giant my family's corporation had partnered with for 5 years. He was dressed in a custom-tailored gray suit, exuding an aura of quiet power. Isabella's father, Mr. Rossi, rushed to greet him, his face beaming. Mr. Dubois, what a surprise. I would have met you at the gate. Mr. Dubois barely acknowledged him, his eyes scanning the room. I tried to look down, not wanting to reveal myself so soon, but his gaze found me and locked. He ignored Mr. Rossi's chatter and strode purposefully in my direction. The noise in the hall died down until there was near total silence. Everyone watched as this powerful man walked past the main tables, past the bride and groom, and stopped directly in front of me. Then, he bowed. Not a polite nod, but a deep, respectful bow of nearly 30 degrees. His voice, though quiet, carried through the silent hall. Miss Anya, I've been looking for you. I've brought the revised proposal for the tech park project you mentioned. I was hoping to discuss it with you. The 2 words, Miss Anya, hung in the air. The MC on stage dropped his microphone with a thud. My teacup remained steady in my hand. I set it down slowly. Mr. Dubois, what a coincidence. I'm just here as a guest. We can discuss the proposal after you're finished here. He straightened up, looking apologetic. Then his eyes fell on the untouched plate of vegetables and the empty glass beside me. He didn't need to ask to understand I had been deliberately slighted. Suddenly there was a crash. The wine glass in Isabella's hand had fallen, splattering red wine on her white dress. Her face was ashen. Miss Anya. Which Miss Anya? She whispered. Marcus stood frozen, staring at me, then at Mr. Dubois, mumbling. But aren't you just an office worker at a small company? Mr. Rossi hurried over, his smile gone. Mr. Dubois. You called her. Miss Anya? Ignoring him, Mr. Dubois said softly to me. Miss Anya, if anyone has treated you poorly, you need only say the word. He then nodded to me and walked toward the main table. But the spell was broken. The hall erupted in whispers. Miss Anya? Could she be the Anya of the Mayfair International Group? The wealthiest family in the country? Mr. Rossi was just bragging about his connection to Mr. Dubois. It turns out Mr. Rossi was just... Dubois came for her. What fools. They treated a true titan like a poor clerk. I listened to the murmurs and took another sip of tea. At the main table, Helena was frozen in her chair, her face paler than Isabella's. She had finally realized that the woman she had forced out, whose old appliances she had demanded back, whose wedding invitation was an act of humiliation, was not some poor nobody but a figure so far beyond her reach, she couldn't even dream of it. A woman at the next table leaned over. Miss, are you really that Miss Anya? That old woman was just telling us her son dumped you because you had no status. I just smiled. You should watch the ceremony. You don't want to miss the best part. The wedding music played on, but no one was listening. All eyes were on me. Marcus and Isabella stood on stage like 2 puppets, their smiles gone. The wedding that was meant to be their moment of glory had become the perfect stage for my vindication. Mr. Dubois' bow had stopped the entire event cold. Isabella's face was a mask of disbelief. Marcus stood speechless, but it was Helena who reacted most dramatically. With a soft thud, she collapsed to the floor, her cheap, gold-plated earrings scattering on the carpet. She stared at me, her face ghostly white, muttering, "Impossible. You're an office clerk. You can't be Miss Anya. Impossible." Marcus, snapping out of his stupor, rushed toward me, forcing a smile that was more grotesque than a grimace. "Anya. I mean Miss Anya." I simply raised my hand, a small gesture that stopped him in his tracks. "You should help your mother up. It's not good for her to be on the floor at someone else's wedding." My voice was calm and detached. Helena suddenly scrambled to her feet and lunged toward me, her hands outstretched. "Miss Anya, I was wrong. I was blind not to see. Please, forgive me. Marcus still loves you, he does. We'll get a divorce. You two can get back together." I stepped back, avoiding her grasp. The guests whispered among themselves about her shameless reversal. Isabella, finally finding her voice, shoved Helena aside and screamed at me, "You did this on purpose. You knew who we were and pretended to be poor just to test us." I ignored her completely and turned to Mr. Dubois. "Shall we talk somewhere quieter? It's a bit loud in here." He nodded, and we walked toward a private lounge, leaving the chaos behind. In the lounge, I finally drank my tea. "Miss Anya, Mr. Dubois said with a smile, "Your act of playing the pauper fooled everyone." "It wasn't an act to fool them," I said calmly. "I just wanted to marry someone who wasn't after money. I was wrong about him, but this way, it saves me future trouble." "Indeed," he agreed. "A family driven by profit is best cut off early. What do you plan to do about Mr. Rossi?" Before I could answer, there was a knock. Mr. Rossi entered, pulling Isabella behind him. His suit was rumpled, his forehead beaded with sweat. "Miss Anya, I am so terribly sorry for the disrespect. It was a misunderstanding." He gestured to his daughter. "This foolish girl. She will apologize." Isabella, her eyes red, mumbled an apology for stealing my ex-husband. I looked at Mr. Rossi. "You didn't come here just to apologize, did you?" He presented a gift bag. "Miss Anya, a small token, about the 3 projects we discussed. I believe we can sign the contracts now. We will, of course, offer you the most favorable terms." I didn't take the gift. "Mr. Rossi, those 3 projects have been put on hold indefinitely. Furthermore, the 2 smaller contracts your company has with our subsidiaries will be terminated next week." "What?" he shrieked. "You can't do that. We've invested millions. If the projects are halted, we'll lose over 300 million. 300 million? I raised an eyebrow. "For you, that's a significant loss. For one of my subsidiaries, it's less than a day's profit." Isabella burst into tears. "Dad, what will we do? Will we go bankrupt?" Mr. Rossi pleaded. "Miss Anya, I know I was wrong. I'll make Isabella divorce Marcus. I'll have Marcus apologize to you on his knees. Please, don't stop the projects." I stood up. "Mr. Rossi, business is about integrity. So is character. When you scheme against others, you should expect a day like this. As for Marcus, we are divorced. His fate is no longer my concern." With that, I left the room, Mr. Dubois following. Behind me, Mr. Dubois. Rossi collapsed into a chair, his face a mask of despair. Isabella sobbed over the table. The wedding hall had quieted down. Helena and Marcus were gone, likely escorted out by Mr. Rossi's men. My show was over. About a half a month later, Leo brought me an update. The first photo showed Marcus, dressed in a faded shirt, standing outside an employment agency. After the Rossi incident, he was fired, Leo explained. He lost his cushy, do-nothing job and can't find work anywhere. He even tried to approach me, asking to be your driver. I had security remove him. The next photos were of Clara, picking through discarded vegetables in a market bin. "She has no money for living expenses," Leo said. "She was even caught trying to steal unsold produce once." I remembered how she used to complain that the groceries I bought were too cheap. I felt no pity. A few days later, Leo told me Marcus and Clara had run into each other on a rainy street. He was soaked, eating a stale bun. She was carrying half a bag of bruised potatoes. "This is all your fault," she had screamed. "If you hadn't divorced Anya, would we be in this mess?" "My fault?" he had yelled back, throwing his bun into a puddle. "Who was it that bad-mouthed Anya every day with Mom? Who was greedy for designer bags? If it weren't for your greed, None of this would have happened. She had collapsed on the pavement, crying that she had nothing to eat. He had slumped down beside her, his voice cracking. "What money can I give you? I sleep under a bridge at night. I barely make enough for myself." Onlookers had gathered, whispering about the family that tried to marry into wealth and failed. Humiliated, the two had gone their separate ways, she with her potatoes, he retrieving his soiled bun from the puddle, without another word to each other. After hearing this, I simply nodded. You don't need to report on them anymore. Their current state was merely the consequence of their own actions. With that chapter closed, I fully took over my family's company. My days were filled with board meetings, project discussions, and dinners with partners like Mr. Dubois. One day, I proposed establishing a venture capital fund for female entrepreneurs, providing them with the seed money and guidance they lacked. The project was a huge success. At the fund's launch, I shared a part of my story. I have also experienced terrible things, been looked down upon and schemed against, but I never gave up. I want to help you because I know how difficult it is for a woman to succeed. A young woman stood up, her voice trembling, and spoke of her failed clothing shop. We funded her. Not long after, her business was thriving, and she had hired 3 unemployed mothers. Seeing the light in her eyes, I felt that creating the fund was more meaningful than any profit margin. Looking back, the time with my ex-husband's family feels like a bad dream. But it taught me valuable lessons. First, when marrying, look at the family's character. Theirs was built on opportunism and greed. Second, never be ashamed of having less or arrogant about having more. True worth isn't measured in money. And third, when you are bullied, do not endure it silently. Your strength is what earns you respect. My life now is full and stable. I no longer have to pretend or cater to anyone's whims. This is the life I want. Whatever difficulties you face, don't give up. Believe that you are worthy of better things. If you are brave and resolute, you can live the life you've always wanted.